on security already, so Soron was spared some damage and hardship. I still have you to thank for some of it, though. Now you know. Good luck in your travels. You will always be a friend to Soron. Vairi P. I shook my head and carefully folded the note, stowing it in my pack again. I'd already read it at least 10 times, and I knew there wasn't anything else to learn from it by now. Something big was happening, that was for sure. True demons. The only reason I hadn't shuddered again while reading that part was that I'd already thought about it so much. True demons were dark, terrible business. If the reports were true. Neben had had at least a few hundred people, and now they were all gone. This had been a bad year for me to decide to meddle in the lives of others, to use my power to protect. As usual, my timing had been terrible. And yet, this wasn't the first time I'd thought about my terrible timing. The reality was that I was just stalling. I needed to go to sleep, but I wasn't sure if I was ready yet. Muffin had told me that I would rank up my orb-bonded powers and be able to choose new abilities once I had arrived in Tolstey. My orb, or orb controller, I still wasn't sure exactly how that worked, had lied. Muffin had moved things forward, it seemed. I didn't know how, but I could feel I was going to rank up, become a second-rank orb-bonded as soon as I went to sleep. I'd thought I'd known before what I was going to choose for my new abilities, but now I wasn't so sure. Things had changed. I stared over the railing of the airship for a while, my dyed blonde hair whipping around my face. It was strange to think that, despite being so high in the sky, I could probably step over the edge of the airship and still survive. My flight ability would probably allow me to land lightly enough that I wouldn't die. I was definitely in no rush to try it out, though, especially since my body had recently been in such bad shape. The last week or so had been rough. The final battle I'd had while fighting for Soron against the slavers had almost killed me. The only reason I'd won was that my opponent had been arrogant, had underestimated me. I couldn't count on that again. While I'd healed, recovering in Soron, I'd had a lot of time to think. I'd already decided earlier that some things were worth fighting for, but that decision was pointless without power to back it up. This realization echoed the decision I'd made in Din Garamat, the elite dungeon. I needed more power. So far, my orb-bonded abilities had barely allowed me to keep breathing. If I actually did rank up today after falling asleep, I would need to make good choices about what abilities to buy. Muffin had told me I'd have 11 points to spend. I sighed and gathered my pack to use as a pillow. Then I tied a thong to Ineos, my mysterious enchanted spear. With my gear and weapons secure, I found a good, out-of-the-way place on the deck of the airship to sleep. I didn't need to be awake for the airship trip as a guard, just present. There was no point putting it off any longer. I'd learned lessons about waiting on power, on tools. No, I needed to take every scrap of advantage I could whenever it presented itself. Now I had people to lead again, and people believing in me. I wasn't sure if this fact made me happy or anxious. Probably a bit of both. I hated thinking. With an unhappy grumble, I settled down on the hard, wooden deck and fell asleep. I opened my eyes and saw that I was in a forest, standing near a pond. This was a place in the country that my birth mother had loved. Mother had taken my father and me here for picnics on special occasions while I'd been young. When Muffin, the capybara girl, stepped out from behind a tree, I wasn't surprised in the slightest. She shook her head and said, "I cannot believe you are still alive. I guess that's good for both of us, though, yes?" I could only nod in agreement. Thinking out loud. This time, Muffin was dressed in pink jean shorts and a soft, off-white crop top. One of her legs had a pink scrunchie around the ankle area. She announced, "So you're here. You knew we were going to meet, and now you don't know what powers to pick?" I replied. The capybara girl regarded me levelly. "I live in your head, so I know what kind of mental state you're in. Not that you ever listen to my advice, but you should stop thinking so deeply about everything. As you know, it's not your strong suit." "Whatever you say. Just give me the book so I can look at my choices." "You want a book like you used last time?"